All right, let's talk about a technology that could totally change the game for how we drive. I mean, imagine getting the same kind of range you get from a tank of gas, but the only thing coming out of your exhaust is, well, just water. Yep, we're diving into hydrogen power, and it has the potential to completely reshape our roads.
I mean, seriously, just think about that for a second. No smoke, no nasty fumes, your car's tailpipe just puts out a little bit of clean water vapor. It sounds like something straight out of a sci-fi movie, right? But that's the core promise of hydrogen-powered cars. And to really get why this is such a big deal, we have to first take a look at the problem it's trying to fix.
Okay, so Section 1, the problem with petrol. Let's start by understanding the cars most of us are driving right now. To really see why hydrogen is so exciting, we gotta quickly go over the tech we all know so well, the good old internal combustion engine.
I mean, it's just a fact of life for most of us, right? You pull up to the gas station, you fill up the tank, and your engine burns that petrol or diesel to get you where you need to go. And hey, this system has worked for, over 100 years. But it definitely comes with a pretty big cost.
So what exactly happens when that fuel burns? Well, there's a chemical reaction, of course. It creates the energy that actually moves your car forward, but it also makes two main things on the side: water, which is totally harmless, and carbon dioxide. And yeah, that's where the trouble really starts.
Now, we've all heard the term greenhouse gas, right? And carbon dioxide is the big one we're talking about here. Think of it like a blanket around the Earth. The more CO2 we pump up there, the thicker that blanket gets, and the more heat from the sun it traps underneath.
And all that trapped heat? Well, that's what drives global warming. It's that slow, steady increase in the planet's average temperature that we hear so much about.
And look, this isn't just about it being a little warmer outside. This is about real-world climate change. We're talking about massive droughts, intense floods, and all sorts of extreme weather. This is the big, complex problem we're looking for solutions to.
So, if burning petrol is the problem, what's a possible solution? Well, let's introduce a potential hero here: hydrogen. To understand why it's such a big deal, we need to go back to basics for just a minute.
Okay, quick chemistry refresher. Let's start with the absolute basics. Hydrogen is an element. It's actually the simplest and most common element in the entire universe, #1 on the periodic table.
And those elements are made of atoms, right? These tiny little particles. But here's the thing about hydrogen atoms. They're social. They really don't like to be alone. They prefer to find a buddy and pair up.
And when they do that, they form a molecule. That's what we're really going to be talking about today, the hydrogen molecule.
And this is what it looks like. H2. This is the fuel for our hero car. It's just a simple, elegant molecule made of two hydrogen atoms stuck together. So the big question is, how in the world do you turn this simple gas into actual, forward motion?
All right, now for the really cool part, the hydrogen fuel cell. This is where the magic happens. So how do you take that H2 gas and make a car go? Well, here's the twist. You don't burn it, not like petrol. Instead, you use a totally different and frankly, much smarter piece of tech.
Yeah, if you were to pop the hood on one of these cars, you wouldn't see what you're used to. There are no pistons, no spark plugs, none of the greasy, clunky parts of a normal engine. Instead, you'd find this sleek, quiet box called a fuel cell.
So how does this thing actually work? Let's walk through it. First, you fill up the tank with hydrogen gas, just like you would with petrol. That hydrogen then flows into the fuel cell. Now, inside the cell, it gets mixed with plain old oxygen from the air around us. But, and this is the absolute key, instead of a tiny explosion like in a regular engine, this chemical reaction quietly generates electricity. And that electricity then powers an electric motor that turns the wheels. So, you can think of it like an electric car that has its own mini power plant on board.
Okay, so this whole unique process, it leads us to the single biggest reason people are so excited about hydrogen, the crucial difference. This is why we're even talking about this today.
And wow, this slide just lays it all out, doesn't it? On one side, you've got the petrol car pumping out that greenhouse gas, carbon dioxide, and on the other side, the hydrogen car. Remember how its fuel, H2, combines with oxygen? Well, what do you get when you combine H and O? H2O, water. That's it. That is the entire exhaust. Just let that sink in for a moment. No carbon dioxide, no smog, no soot, no nasty pollutants at all. The only, and I mean only thing coming out of that tailpipe is pure, harmless water vapor. It's pretty incredible.
So let's wrap this up. The promise of hydrogen. What does all of this really mean for us? What's the big takeaway here?
When you boil it all down, it's actually pretty simple. We're swapping out a technology that makes a harmful greenhouse gas for one that just makes water. Hydrogen cars give us a very direct way to help fight climate change. They let us slash the very emissions that are causing our planet to heat up.
And that kind of leaves us with this one big, fascinating question to chew on, doesn't it? We are facing arguably one of the most complicated, tangled problems humanity has ever had to deal with: climate change. And isn't it just amazing to think that a potential solution could come from the simplest, most basic element in the entire universe? It's definitely something to think about. Thanks so much for joining me.